media. Regardless of how you got here, let me be the first one to tell you that you are absolutely in the right place. And so I thank you for being part of the Show Up for Your Life motivational movement. And so here's what I want to talk to you about tonight. I want to talk to you about expanding your vision. And I tell you, there's nothing more important than having a vision. As a matter of fact, it's even written, one of my favorite books says this, that without vision, the people will perish. And so it's important. And when you're talking about going after your goals and your dreams, and if you're trying to live an extraordinary life, it's important that you have a vision, something big, something that maybe even perhaps intimidates you that you are pursuing, that you're going after. As a matter of fact, I would go as far as saying that your life is most likely a reflection of the size of your vision. And so if you're living a small life, if you're only staying within your comfort zone, if you're not doing something extraordinary, chances are you don't have a very big vision for yourself. You don't have a very big vision for your family. You don't have a very big vision for your marriage. You don't have a very big vision for your finances. You don't have a very big vision for your career, for your goals. Chances are, if you're living a small life, you probably have a small vision. But let me tell you something. If right now you are making things happen, if right now you are stepping outside of your comfort zone, if right now you are literally knocking down barriers, if right now you literally, if somebody looks at your life and says, wow, look at where they were and look at where you are right now, and you continue to grow, chances are you have a big vision. And so regardless of where you are on this sort of pendulum that I just shared with you, I want to challenge you right now, this moment, if you have a small vision, to number one, to expand that vision. And if you consider yourself to have a fairly big vision, I want to challenge you to make that vision even bigger. I want to challenge you to expand that vision beyond belief. And what inspired this message is, I had an opportunity to go and visit one of my friends, and I would happen to be at her beautiful home, and we were sitting there, and this was some time back, but I was in her home, and I was just looking at how amazing her home was. Literally several stories, sitting on the water. Every single floor in the home had a view of the water. Beautiful gourmet kitchen, beautiful finishes in the home, sitting on a beautiful lot overlooking this amazing, amazing body of water. And I was telling her, I was saying, man, your home is so beautiful and this is so amazing. And let me just tell you, this is amazing what you've been able to accomplish. And your home is absolutely breathtaking, spectacular. And she said, Andy, well, listen, let me tell you something. She says, you won't even believe how I made the leap from going from where I was to being here in this home. And she says, I want you to look with me for a moment. She says, you see this water that we're overlooking right now? She says, I want you to look all the way back on the far, far side of this water. Do you see some condos back there? I said, yeah, I see those condos. I mean, they're very far from here, but I could see those condos. But she said, here's what happened. She said, I had just bought a unit in one of those condo buildings. And she says, I had just bought this really nice condo. It's about 3 bedrooms, 2 bath, a really nice condo, really nice building. They have a swimming pool. They have a gym, a really secure area. And of course, it was overlooking the water. And she says, I remember one particular day I got this condo, and my husband and I, we're feeling really accomplished. We're thinking, wow, we finally got our condo on the water. And she says, I remember walking out to the balcony. She says, while she was out on the balcony and she's looking out at this beautiful water that the condo is overlooking. And as she's sitting and looking over this amazing, amazing view of the water, she's seeing people who are passing by her condo who are in their boats. And she's seeing these beautiful, amazing boats that are out there on the water. And here she was thinking to herself, you know what? She just finished accomplishing something really, really significant by getting this amazing condo sitting over the water. And as she's relaxing and overlooking at the view, and she's seeing people who are on these boats, and she's thinking to herself, well, where in the world do these people who are on these boats live? Because clearly they're not living in this condo, because we don't have boat docks in these condos. And she says, in addition to that, she said that her and her husband, that they would go out to eat very close to their condo. And she says that she remembers as she was sitting at some of the restaurants, as they were eating their meal, they drove to the restaurant. And she said that she would watch people pull up on their boats to the restaurant that they were eating. And she said that, you know what, Andy, something started to stir inside of me. And so here I am, getting to the condo. I had to expand my vision. But she said that here I am now looking from this elevated view of my condo, looking out of this water. And she said, all of a sudden now I was being nudged to expand my vision. You see, I never in a million years thought that I would want to purchase and own a boat. But seeing these other families out there on the water, relaxing on the weekends and pulling up to the restaurant in their boat, stirred something inside of me where I was saying, well, wait a second, if they can have a boat, why can't I have a boat? And then I said, well, wait a second, you know what? Where are they coming from and where are they docking these boats? And then she said, I would look all the way across the water from my condo and I would see these beautiful, beautiful homes off at the distance that were sitting looking like castles on the water. And I said, well, wait a second. If I have a boat, I've got to make sure that I have a beautiful home to just simply be able to park that boat behind. And she said, at that moment, it was just a vision. At that moment, I had no idea as to how I was going to make it happen. And maybe perhaps you, as you're listening to me right now, you at one point or another, you've had a vision, just something that you said to yourself, you know what? I'd like to make that happen. Maybe you saw somebody with an amazing, beautiful, loving family, and you just had a vision to yourself. You say, you know what? One day I want to be able to have a beautiful, amazing, loving family, a family that comes together, a family that has each other's back, a family that's full of laughter. Maybe you come across somebody and you meet somebody for the first time that's 100% debt free. And for a moment you have a vision. You say, oh my gosh, what would it be like to have a life in which I am 100% debt free? You know what? I would love to be 100% debt free. Maybe perhaps you see somebody who is at the top of their game in their career. And you say, you know what? I would love to pivot. I'd like to position myself to continue to grow in my career. I want to have a career that gets me fired up. I want to have a career that I'm passionate about. I want to have a career that pays me what I know that I'm worth. Or maybe perhaps you thought about writing the book or you thought about starting the business. All of us at one point or another, chances are you got a glimpse at something that inspired you and you had a momentary vision. Now, here's the thing. Most of us, unfortunately, we don't act on that vision. Most of us, it just simply is a thought and then it disappears, it dissipates. We go back through our regular routine. We get back into our comfort zone. We go back to doing what we're familiar with. And unfortunately, the vision that we had for a moment, it appears for a moment and boom, like a vapor, it disappears. But what I want to challenge you right now is number one, to expand your vision. And then number two, to hold on to the vision. You see, when I'm telling you about my friend, she said at that moment, Andy, it was just a vision. But even though it was a vision, she said, I started to hold on to the vision. She said, well, you know what? I never thought about having boats, but then we started going out and we started looking at boats. All of a sudden, I started learning about, the different sizes of the boats. I started learning about different dock sizes. I started looking into what boats cost. At that moment, I wasn't necessarily prepared to make the purchase, but I was prepared to expand my vision. And then I said, wait a second, if I'm going to get this boat, I've got to have a home that has a boat dock behind it and is connected to a body of water. And she said, so I started going into different neighborhoods and looking at these different neighborhoods that had these beautiful homes that were sitting on the water. She said, I started going into these different areas, and in these neighborhoods, I started seeing vacant lots. And then I started visualizing us purchasing the lot and building our dream home, a several-story home that has water views from all the floors, envisioning the dock in our backyard, envisioning the boat that was here in the backyard. And so I'm listening to her share this story, and I took it for granted because I was standing in her vision. You see, I was standing in her home that she had to dream, the home that she had to visualize, that her and her husband had to visualize. You see, I was looking at the boat dock, and I stood on the boat dock that was simply a part of her vision, a part of her dream. And I was taking it for granted and forgetting that she had to be able to see it before she could achieve it. And so what I'm saying to you is this, that I know that right now you probably got a goal, you probably have a dream, there's probably something that you've been wanting to do, that you've been meaning to do. And if you look at your circumstances, if you look at things right now, maybe perhaps you start asking yourself, well, I don't know how I'm going to do it, Andy. I don't know how I'm going to write the book. I don't know how I'm going to start the business. I don't know how I'm going to get down that career track. I don't know how I'm going to become debt free. I don't know how I'm going to have this amazing family. I don't know how I'm going to lose the weight. And what I'm saying is, you don't worry right now about how you're going to do it. I just need you to be able to see the vision. Because if you can just simply see the vision, and if you hold on to the vision, let me just tell you, all of a sudden, if you hold on to the vision long enough, the right people will begin to show up in your life. All of a sudden, what happens is you will begin to take steps and actions that are going to move you towards your vision. And so that's why it's so important to make sure that you hold the vision. You know, I used to laugh at my wife all the time, even before when we were just dating, about the amount of vision boards that she has. I mean, she has all these vision boards. She gets magazines, she flips through the magazines, and she cuts out pictures of, you know, amazing Caribbean vacations. She cuts out pictures of certain experiences. She cuts out these pictures. But what I have discovered through our time together is that because of the fact that she was willing to hold on to the vision, it's so amazing. I remember one particular day looking at one of her vision boards, and literally about 70% of what she had on the vision board, we had already done. She had pictures of a couple going on amazing Caribbean islands. And guess what? We've done that. We've gone to Haiti. We've gone to Jamaica. We've gone to Puerto Rico. We've gone to the Dominican Republic. We've gone to Mexico. You know, she has these beautiful pictures. She has pictures of a couple that's out in Africa that's on this mission trip. And guess what? A couple of years ago, we went to Africa. We went to Kenya on a missions trip in Nairobi. And then, you know, she would have these visions of people being on beaches and a couple that was actually conducting business together in seminars. And her and I, we have business together. We do coaching programs together. We host events together, and we travel together. She had pictures of a couple on a flight, taking flight and going places. And what's so crazy is, as I started going through her vision board, all I kept seeing were things that now we had already created, things that were on her vision board, things that she wanted the things that she wanted to happen in her life. And because she was willing to hold on to the vision and focus on the vision, even though she wasn't sure how it was going to happen, somehow, some way, things began to happen. And what I'm saying to you is this. What I'm saying to you is, this is the time right now for you to begin to stretch and expand your vision. Stop with the small thinking. Let me tell you this: small thinking, small visions leads to a small life. If you want a big life, if you want to make impact, if you want to create experiences, if you want to do something extraordinary, you've got to be willing to expand your vision and hold on to the vision, and don't get caught up as to how you're going to make it happen. How, as my mentor Les Brown said many a times before, how is none of your business. Don't worry about the how. As a matter of fact, Dexter Yeager said that if the dream is big enough, then the odds don't matter. Trust me, you will eventually figure it out. The right people will show up, and things will begin to move and orchestrate themselves in your favor. You know, I think about, you know, my mom, who, when she came to U.S., United States of America, from Haiti, the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, my mom literally came to the U.S. with literally less than $150 in her pocket. But ever since the time that she came here to this country, even though she didn't speak the language, even though she had minimal resources, she always wanted to become this entrepreneur. She always wanted to be able to own her own business. And let me just tell you, it was a long journey before that would ever happen. My mom started off just literally making up beds in the hotel rooms as a maid in one of the hotels down in Miami, Florida. And literally for decades, you hear me? Not for 1 year, not for 5 years, for decades, my mom would have to work and build herself and go through and learn how to expand her vision and hold the vision before it would be literally 20-something years after being in this country that she would finally realize a part of her dream of becoming an entrepreneur, when she would finally open up this Haitian restaurant. And as some of you have heard the story before, when she decided to open up the Haitian restaurant, eventually the property would go to foreclosure. And here's what the insane thing is. My mom had enough vision to show up to the foreclosure sale And literally in that moment when she wasn't showing up to the sale to purchase the property, my mom ends up deciding to bid on this property that she was the tenant in, that she was renting. And she showed up just to see if she could convince whoever's going to get the property if she could stay. And my mom had enough vision, enough courage to decide to actually bid on the property, not knowing where the resources were coming from, not knowing how things were going to work out. And guess what? My mom ended up winning the bid. And here's the most beautiful thing about it. I want you to put this into perspective. We're talking about a woman who came from the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. The woman who had less than $150 to her name. 22 something years of being in the United States, working odd jobs, putting in work until she finally opens up a Haitian restaurant. That dream of hers is about to get snatched from her hands because the landlord didn't pay their mortgage and the property is going to foreclosure. My mom still had enough vision and willpower to show up to this foreclosure sale, bids on the property, wins the property, and years after that, my mom would get offered over $1 million for that property and turn down the offer of $1 million. I want you to think about this. You come from the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere with less than $150 to your name, and you end up later on in life turning down an offer for over $1 million because you no longer need it and because you had a big enough vision to be able to manifest that in your life. And so when I look at people like my mom, what I realize is, what was the magic formula? The magic formula is that she had vision, that she didn't just focus on where she was coming from. You see, too many of us, we cut ourselves short because we focus on the circumstances or we focus on our past. You know, my mom could be focused on her past and just say, well, wait a second, I come from the poorest country. You know, I didn't have resources. You know, that her and my grandma, they used to sleep on ripped up pieces of cloth. You know, they slept pretty much almost outdoors in a little foyer type area. And so she could have let her past circumstances define her. She could have let the fact that she came to this country with less than $150 to her name to define her. But no, she had vision. And when you have vision, you have the capacity to see beyond your circumstances. You don't just see yourself as you currently are. You don't see yourself based off of your past, but you base it off of something that you're looking to accomplish, something that you're looking to make happen. And so if you're a note taker, I want you to do this right now. I want you to write down the word vision. Write the word vision down, but I want you to write it down vertically on a sheet of paper. I want you to look at it as if it's a mnemonic right now. And I want to go ahead and give you just a couple of things that is important. Some of the reasons why it's important to have vision and some of the reasons why also what vision does for you. So write down the word vision right now. Write it down on a sheet of paper. And so the first thing is that I want you to realize with the V in vision, the first thing is vision requires you to change your view. That's what V stands for, the view. You see, too many of us, we're going through life with a very low view. And so we've got to learn to elevate our view, to see things from a different perspective. You know, Wayne Dyer, who is no longer with us, he said, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And when I talk about my friend, remember, she was in that condo and she was looking out at that water. And then she looked at those boats and she looked across the water and saw those homes. And even though she's standing in this condo that she could have been content with, she decided to change her view. She decided to change her perspective. And so too many of us, unfortunately, we have a small perspective, or we allow our circumstances, we allow the things around us to dictate what our view is, to dictate what our perspective is. But what I'm saying to you is you've got to elevate your view. You see, when you see things from a different perspective, it causes you to start to think differently. It causes you to start dreaming differently, and it causes you to start requiring more out of yourself. And so the reason why we want to have a big vision is because vision allows us to elevate our view, to see things from an entirely different perspective. You see, chickens, they're on the ground. And so when they're walking around, they're looking at things from the ground level. But an eagle is soaring way high in the air. And so there's a big disparity between a chicken and an eagle, and a major disparity between the two is their view, it's their perspective. And so what I'm asking you to do is to come out from the perspective of those who are chickens, come out from the perspective of those who are looking at the ground level. As a matter of fact, when I see people who walk, and when they walk, they're just staring at the ground, I say, you got to pick your chin up. What are you looking at? Why is your head facing down? You've got to elevate yourself. You got to change your view so you can see things from a different perspective. So one of the reasons why you need to have a vision is so that you can see things from a different view. Now, here's the other thing that I need you to realize when it comes to having a vision. The I is the beautiful thing about having a vision inspires you. You see, the beautiful thing is when I tell you about my friend is when she had that vision, it inspired her to work harder and to think outside the box so she can take herself from being in that condo to being in that beautiful home, from only having a car to also having a car and a boat. Now, here's what I need you to realize. We're talking about beyond just monetary stuff. I'm sharing that story with you as an example, but a vision can inspire you to do other things, not just about making money, but having a vision can inspire you to lose weight. It can inspire you to write the book. It can inspire you to do something meaningful and impactful. It can inspire you to start the nonprofit. But the key is to have a vision, because the vision will inspire you to move forward. The vision will inspire you to continue to draw and pull more out of yourself than what you're already doing. And so if you're looking for inspiration, some people say, well, I just don't feel motivated. I'll tell you right now, if you want to have motivation, here's what you got to do. Expand your vision. Expand your vision. See things from a different perspective. Require more out of yourself. Now, here's what the S stands for. The S stands for this. When you have a vision, it requires you to have to show up. And so here's what you got to realize. Let me tell you something. There's nothing like having a big vision. And the only way I can tell you this, the only way that you will accomplish that vision is you're going to have to make sure that you actually show up. George Bell has a quote. I love it. He said, you can pretend to care. You can pretend to have a big vision. You can pretend to say that you want to write the book. You can pretend to say that you want to start the business. You can pretend to say that you want to take your career to the next level. You can pretend to say that you want to lose the weight. But in order to make all of these things that are part of your vision become a reality, you have to show up. Woody Allen said that 80% of success is simply showing up. And I tell you over and over again, if you don't show up for your lives, ladies and gentlemen, nobody else will. And so it's going to require you, when you have a big vision, it's going to also require that you show up in a big way. And so if you're talking about writing the book, it's going to require that you show up and start writing. If you're talking about starting a business, it's going to require that you show up and start doing the things that are required to put you in business. If you're talking about pivoting and getting to the next level in your career, it's going to require that you show up at whatever level you are right now and outwork the people around you. And so let me just tell you something. When you have a vision, it puts a mandate in your life for you to make sure that you're actually showing up. And so it's important for you that when you have a vision, that you understand that one of the requirements to fulfill the vision is that you're going to have to show up. Now, here's the other thing is when it comes to your vision, there's the other eye, and the other eye needs to, here's what I need you to do. Here's what I need you to understand. That visions don't just happen by circumstance. And so the I means that you need to inspect what you expect. And let me explain that to you. You see, it's one thing to have a big vision. But if you don't start monitoring, if you don't start working towards that vision, then all that turns into is what we call a daydream. It's just a dream. It's just something that you're thinking about doing. And so what I'm saying to you is once you have the vision, you want to hold on to the vision and keep it in eyesight, and then start asking yourself on a daily basis, what is it that I can do on a daily basis that's going to move me in the direction of my vision? Now, it may just be a teeny step like making a phone call. It may just be a teeny step like writing a couple words per day. It may just mean a teeny step like waking up and going for a walk for 30 minutes. It may just mean a teeny step like paying an extra $100 on your credit card debt. But whatever it is, you've got to be willing to inspect what you expect. In other words, you need to monitor your progress so that you can ensure that you're moving towards your vision as opposed to walking away from your vision. And so having a vision is going to require some level of accountability. It's going to require that you inspect what you expect. Now, here's what the O in the vision stands for. Listen, having a vision is going to require a level of optimism. Listen, you rarely have people who have big visions. You rarely have people who realize their big visions who are pessimists. You see, you have to have an optimistic view at your life. You have to look on at things and say, you know what? I don't have the resources now, but I sure as heck can go find out how to get it. You know what? Guess what? I lost that money in that past investment. I lost that money because of that past decision, but I know that things are going to turn out right now. You know what? I had a horrible, toxic relationship, but I know that this relationship is going to turn out for the better. Or I know that I'm going to find the right kind of relationship. Or it requires you to be like, you know what? I don't know what it's going to take right now for me to start my business, but I know that the right people are going to show up, and I know that I have the capacity to make this thing happen. And so attitude is absolutely everything. And part of having the right attitude is making sure that you have an optimistic view of life. And so you've got to be optimistic. You have to learn how to see the cup half full as opposed to half empty. It's the only way that you're going to fulfill and realize your vision. And finally, in order to realize and accomplish your vision, the end, you can never, I mean never, ever, ever give up. Let me tell you something. Going after your goals and your dreams, it's going to take a while. If you've got a big vision, a big dream, sometimes it's going to take some time to fulfill that vision and that dream. And so you've got to be willing to pull yourself by the bootstrap. You got to be long-term sighted, and you've got to say to yourself that I am willing to go through the process, and no matter what, I'm never, never, never going to give up. Because if you think about the difference between those who succeed and those who don't, oftentimes what happens is those who don't succeed, they give up right before they have their breakthrough. They give up sometimes before they even get started. And those who succeed are the ones who, regardless of the circumstances, regardless of how difficult it gets, regardless of what the process is, they never, 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 never give up. And so what I'm saying to you right now is this. That right now that there is a big dream, a vision that has your name written all over it. And so what I'm saying to you is stop with the small thinking. And if you have a vision right now, I want to challenge you to make it even bigger. I want to challenge you to expand your vision. I'm talking about have a vision so big that it literally scares you. Have a vision so big that you have no idea as to how you're going to make it happen. But understand, in order for you to make these things happen, that you've got to, number one, have the vision, but you got to make sure that you hold on to that vision throughout whatever the circumstances are. You got to hold on to that vision and just literally keep pushing forward. And remember this mnemonic that I shared with you, that part of the reason why you need to have a vision is because it changes your view. The other thing is that we want to remember when we come to the I is that a vision will inspire you. It inspires you to move forward. It inspires you to go after your goals and your dreams. But also to accomplish the vision, you got to be willing to show up regardless of the circumstances. You got to continue to show up because it's the only way that you're going to fulfill and realize it. Now, you also got to monitor the progress here. And so you got to be willing to inspect what you expect. And remember, there's going to be some bumps and bruises along the journey. And so you've got to keep an optimistic viewpoint and understand that it's going to take time, so you can never, never, never give up. If you can remember that, if you can hold on to that, I'm telling you this. Now, I don't know where you are right now in your life, but if you could just look forward right now, you think to yourself, 5 years from now, if you took away all your limiting beliefs, if you took away the fear of failure, the fear of rejection, the fear of disappointment, if you didn't let what happened to you in the past or the negative people who maybe have said to you what you couldn't do, if you put all those things to the side, and you knew for sure that you would have success at doing something, I want you to expand a vision and be thinking from that perspective, without the fear, without the limitations. And I want to challenge you tonight, right now, to expand your vision. You know, this wouldn't be Andy Henriquez if I didn't end by telling you this. Show up for your lives, ladies and gentlemen, because if you don't, If you don't, nobody else will. All right. Well, listen, I am so happy that you chose to tune in and join me for the Show Up for Your Life motivational live stream, as well as conference call. And of course, a couple of things I want to remind you, if you haven't already done so, I want you to get a copy of my book, Show Up for Your Life, 7 Principles to Living an Extraordinary Life. This book is literally going to transform your life. In the book, I share 7 very powerful principles that if you follow these principles and you implement these principles in your life, it's going to elevate your life wherever you are right now. If you're living a life that you know that you've been sort of hiding out, or you've been living your life sort of in park, or you have settled for mediocrity, it's going to require that you elevate yourself and raise the bar. And it's going to help you to go from living an extraordinary life to living an extraordinary life, whatever that means for you. And if you're already making some great things happen, if you're already kicking butt and taking names, this book is going to get you fired up. And it's going to help you to continue to push forward and continue to elevate at the level that you're at, and then even help you to kick it up a couple of notches. You know, these principles are principles that I've had the opportunity to implement in my own personal life, but they're also principles that I've been able to really draw from people, some of the most successful people that I've witnessed in my life. And these are many of the stories that I share in this book are stories that I've had the opportunity to share with audiences where I've had hundreds and a couple of thousand people sitting in the audience. And I know that these stories are the kind of stories that stir something inside of you, the kind of stories that want to make you move forward. And so let me just tell you, you have to get your hands on this book. So if you haven't already done so, you can get a copy of the book at showupforyourlifebook.com, all spelled out, one word, showupforyourlifebook.com. Or if you prefer, you can also get a copy of the book at Barnes & Noble's online, and you can also get a copy of the book on Amazon online. If you have a Kindle, the book is available on Amazon Kindle as well. So I just want to make sure that you know that. Now, the other thing is, if for some reason you and I are not yet connected, I want you to connect with me. You can do that very quickly, very easy. You can go to the website, showupforyourlife.com. When you get there, you'll see a banner, put in your name and your email address, and that's going to allow you and I to stay connected right away. And I'll continue to send you resources, videos, emails, and so forth that I believe is going to equip